Hello, today will be a reading night. Great to see you here. Feel free to be my guest and tune in. If you are not aware of the context, this is about the stimulus response training. And here I would like to list the arguments for the stimulus response training methodology. I will feel very good if this discussion resonates with your unique worldview, your core values, and your aspirations. And I will be very happy if you decide to stay in touch with me on this in long term. My intention, as I said earlier, is to respect your time and be clear with the key ideas. I will read my script to be extremely specific in what I want to say. And few points before we start with methodology arguments. So I will do my best to make it interesting and clear, but please keep in mind that this is a list of arguments for the methodology, so it's content heavy and there's no storytelling here going on. And if you want details on any point, feel free to just ask ChatGPT. It will provide a neutral view and arguments for and against. I will talk at the pace I am used to talk with my friends and will not adjust to typical YouTube talking styles. So if it sounds slow for you, you can just speed up the video. And let us settle down comfortably and slowly and thoughtfully, without hurry, go through the points and reflect on them. So not react to them, but reflect on them. Do they make sense or not? And I will refer to what we know about the psychology of learning and training, behavior formation, automatic reactions, and we'll show how this knowledge is reflected in the SRT methodology. Let me check if sound quality is good. Okay, I just checked. Sound should be okay. So in essence, and especially in headphones, actually, I tried with AirPods. In essence, all these arguments support three key elements that differentiate this methodology from other. First, training on cards before real-life situations. Second, defining your reaction to a situation on multiple layers, not just actions, but also thoughts, values, past memories, roles, and so on. And third, defining any change we want to introduce as a pair of stimulus and response. And these 3 points are critical to this methodology. So let's go and let's go through this list. I'm feeling a bit like, I'm reading a fairy tale. Very cool. So, 1. We know that rehearsals and repetitions matter. More training results in better performance. The more you do, the better you get, right? Performance makes progress, and the more we study before a test, the better we perform in a test. To prepare for an exam, we don't just go to the exam several times. We train the questions in advance. We simulate the exam at home. And therefore, the SRT methodology asks us to train the cards of situations, rehearse and repeat them in advance to automate the right reaction. For example, a habit, a behavior, or a belief. 2. We know that visualization techniques really matter. All Olympic sportsmen practice visualization as part of their preparation for competition. Visualization is a widely recognized tool in peak performance psychology and sports psychology, and therefore the SRT methodology asks us to visualize, practice, and train the roles, behaviors. So through visualization, we intentionally embed ourselves into better selves. 3. We know that behaviors, reactions, and states are triggered by something, right? So everything has a trigger. Any behavior or reaction or mood or state of mind does not exist by itself, does not appear from nowhere. It exists in a pair with stimuli which triggers it. and that stimuli can be internal or external. That stimuli triggers the reaction. Therefore, it's essential to pay attention to the full pair, stimulus and reaction, and define the new pathway of travel which overrides the old pathway of travel between the stimulus and old reaction. And if we just define the new reaction or new behavior, it can nicely exist in our mind, right? If we just define the new reaction, it can nicely exist in our mind and we can activate it by consciously thinking about it, right? That's what we can do. However, it will never get triggered in real life because we did not define the path to that new behavior or reaction, right? Example, it is easy to be a great person and do the right thing after getting inspired by a motivational speech or by a Sunday service in a church or after contemplating about it for several hours. This is easy. What we really need to is to hook that state to very specific daily life situations. And if it doesn't happen, then only the Sunday church service triggers the great person in us and the right behavior, but daily life situations trigger the old version of us and old behavior, old emotions. And that is why defining the pair stimulus and response is critical. Defining and then training this pair to strengthen the automatic connection between the two. That's what's critical, right? Why? Because we know that behaviors, reactions, and states are triggered by something. Point number 4. We know that our values, our inner roles, and our past experiences inform our actions. It is much easier to take the right action which is consistent with our core values. It is much easier to take the right action right after you recall some memories of right actions from your past. Past success triggers success. Memories, values, actions, emotions, thoughts, all these things are interconnected in the brain, and the logic of association lights up this or that constellation, right, of reactions, right, on all these different layers. However, consciously we perceive only some part of that constellation. And therefore, the SRT methodology, the stimulus response training methodology, asks us to pay attention not only to the desired action or desired habit, as most of existing tools and methodologies do. The SRT methodology pulls attention also on values, inner roles, past experiences of success, and so on. So these layers also get synced and fuel the right action. That's a nice word to use here, yeah? All these other layers, if they are activated, that's all additional momentum and additional power that fuels the right action. Let me state it again, right? Why? Because we know that our values, our inner roles, and our past experiences inform our actions. That is why these layers are so important. We don't want to leave the layer undefined, because if we do not consciously pay attention to some aspect, it doesn't mean that it does not exist, right? It's there, and it's just not in the red of our attention at that specific moment. And we want to know what happens on that layer, because if we don't pay attention consciously, it can be that it's not synced with the new intention. Example, what value do you want to get activated when we see a cake? If we don't specify it, it can easily be that without our knowledge, without it being under our attention, the main value associated with the cake is hedonism and pleasure. And these are also great and important values, but probably this is not the right moment for them. And on that layer, right, while we have all the right thoughts and all the right goals in our mind, on the level of our values that get activated right now, we're being pulled backwards into the old habit pattern, right? They pull us into old behavior, which is like eating a lot of cake. For example, 5. We know that our willpower is like a battery. We know that, right? It is hard to constantly behave being forced by our own willpower. The battery goes down, our ego gets tired. I really like this phrase, ego depletion. There's a Wikipedia article on that, right? And we start taking the easier path of automatic behavior just because the battery is down, of the willpower. It's not easy to be constantly mindful, especially in a very busy day, and constantly overrule the automatic impulsive desire with a mindful action. It's not possible. It's not easy, especially after a long, tiring, busy day. And therefore, the SRT methodology focuses on rewiring our automation impulsive reactions into better automatic reactions. It takes much less willpower to go for a run if you rehearsed it multiple times and made it your new automatic reaction. The SRT methodology asks us to rehearse it in advance when our willpower is strong, right? We rehearse in advance, then we expect it to be triggered. Because after a long day at work, when you are hungry and tired, we should not fully rely on our tired willpower to force us go for the run. We want to rehearse this new behavior into new automatic reaction, and that requires minimum willpower. So returning to the statement, right? We know that our willpower is like a battery, and that's why we focus on automation, not on willpower. 6, we know that positive reinforcement really matters. To train your dog, you need to give it some reward, some positive feedback when it does the right thing. Positive feedback is key to children's learning, and every mother knows that. Therefore, the SRT methodology asks us to specify the positive reinforcement feedback that we will give ourselves next time for doing the right thing. Keep in mind, we are not talking about candies or toys, right? Or some imaginary scores or points in our phones or in the habit apps. What really matters is the internal reward. What really matters is being able to tell ourselves after doing the right thing, I feel good about myself for doing the right thing. I'm thankful to myself for taking care of my own well-being. If someone says, okay, I would like to introduce this change, but is not ready to give himself or herself the positive feedback, let's just acknowledge that then the process will be inefficient. So that's why, to repeat the point, right? We know that positive reinforcement really matters. And yes, you can ignore that layer, but it's there, right? And that's why in all these pairs, where after we specify the rest, the last point we specify is what kind of feedback do I provide myself if I do all the right actions. Okay, so feel free to check the second part of this discussion, link is below. And just to remind about the other options that exist here, right? If you are open to new small experience, you can quickly click through the tool. There's nothing to install. The tool contains a library of ready-to-use cards. It is free, and as I said, you're like my guest here, and imagine it's my fridge, and you can take anything from it, anything you want. Other options are check out the shorts with user stories, and my WhatsApp is in the tool, and I will be happy to continue our chat there. So links are below, have fun. And I would like to repeat it again, something I feel is very important. I will be very glad, and I will feel very good if turns out that this tool fits your unique worldview and your core values and your aspirations. It would be really great. And I will be also glad to stay in contact on this topic in long term. So take care and be my guest.